Welcome to FitBody Lifestyle, the show where we dive deep into the world of fitness, health, business, relationships, and the art of living a balanced life. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Greg, and we're here to give you the benefit of our experiences in the fitness and bodybuilding industry, the corporate world, running a business, personal development, and building healthy relationships.
Whether you're sweating it out in the gym, hustling in your business, or seeking balance in your everyday life, you're in the right place.
So lace up those sneakers and grab that water bottle, and let's get ready to transform our minds, our bodies, and our lives. Hey, FitBody Lifers, welcome to another Fusion Hack on FitBody Lifestyle podcast.
And this is our Fusion Hack for today.
Didn't I say Fusion Hack?
I don't think so.
I thought I said Fusion Hack.
Okay.
Oh, well, whether I did or I did. Maybe that's the topic.
I'm helping.
I'm here with my beautiful wife, Jamie, and we are joined and honored to have Chef Travis Petersen, the Nomad Cook. And we are going to talk, first of all, Travis, introduce yourself.
Yes. Hi, I'm Chef Travis Petersen. I'm a cannabis chef from Canada. I'm sorry.
Hey, it's about to be the 51st state. It's all good.
I take that sorry back.
He's a Phoenician now. He's not.
So today we are going to talk about DIY essentials for cannabis cooking. So Chef Travis is the expert on this, but you may want to experiment with this at home and integrating or incorporating some of these things at home. So what do you need to get started?
Where do people get started?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, we've seen so many advancements with technology that there are pieces of equipment out there, tools that you can use to give you the confidence. Because
you are so kind. I'm going to just stop you because there is one essential that people need, which is to buy your cookbook on Amazon.com.
Yes.
And the reason why I say
plugging myself,
and I'm going to plug it. But the reason why is that because to have the equipment without the context. And so I think it's helpful to start with the cookbook and figure out.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Getting specifically my cookbook, but a cookbook that can give you the right sort of
What is your cookbook called, by the way?
Introduction to Culinary Cannabis.
Okay.
Right. So 80 pages of theory to give you that confidence. So when you create your extractions, I think that's the most important thing because people are afraid of over consuming, right? No one wants to have too much cannabis and get sick. No one wants a green out. So you got to be confident with the extractions you're making. Now
and I'm sorry, just one more thing, because we use a term there, the green out. Yes. I just want to make sure everybody knows what that means. So green out is the equivalent of a blackout.
Correct. Yeah. So anytime you've over-consumed with cannabis and you start to feel the adverse effects of it, that's what we would call a green out. That is like the number one avoidance for any cannabis chef. We don't want that. Now, listen, maybe on a Friday night by yourself, that's your goal, is to push the THC to the max. But again, that was the purpose of what you're wanting to do. We're looking at incorporating cannabis into our dietary or weekly diet with purpose, right? Something to have after a hard workout, something to have
after a tough week,
Yeah. So, that will really help sort of determine what is the purpose of the extraction I'm making, will determine what method I should be using, and determining what method I'm going to use will help me determine what equipment I need.
Right.
If we were to Google how to make weed brownies, it's going to tell you that you have to go through a process of decarboxylation. So that's what we call the decarb method. Decarboxylation is a process. If we look at the cannabis flower, it has THCA in it. It does not have THC. To get to THC, you have to apply heat to the plant, and it makes a conversion into that psychoactive property. So that's why if you eat a cannabis flower, just it would
do nothing.
It wouldn't do anything to you, right? But as soon as we apply heat to it, we convert that over. So the old way of thinking is I want to get as high as possible off the weed brownie. So I'm going to chop up my cannabis flower, put it on a baking sheet, and put it into the oven at 240 Fahrenheit for 40 minutes. So that is the first taboo right there. We really shouldn't be using an oven. Everyone's oven is different, right? My 400 Fahrenheit might be 390 for you, might be 410 for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or 420.
Good one, babe. Good one, babe.
So the tool that every cannabis chef or home cook needs to be using when creating extractions is a Sous-Vide, which is a water circulator. If we think about cooking a chicken breast, we put it on the barbecue. The heat is coming from the bottom and cooking that breast upwards from the bottom to the top. At some point, we have to flip it over, pull it off at the perfect point to have juicy, moist chicken, right? If we leave it on too long, we start to dry it out. If we leave it on too long, it starts to char and burn and becomes inedible. The same can be thought when we look at cannabis. So yes, going to 240 Fahrenheit, we will maximize the THC. But as we start to go over 200 Fahrenheit, we start to sacrifice on our terpenes. We start to sacrifice our other cannabinoids. If you bite into the weed brownie and you taste a very bitter, weedy brownie, you have applied too much heat to it. So first thing, we want to use the Sous-Vide as our piece of equipment. You don't have to go out and buy the $500 model. I know.
And is it S-O-U-S-V?
S-O-U-S and then V-I-D-E.
Okay.
It's French.
It's French. So what it does is we were talking about cooking that chicken breast from the bottom up. We would take that chicken breast and vacuum seal it into a bag and drop it into the water bath. And we are now cooking it at 400 Fahrenheit, 360 degrees around the chicken, and it will cook it to the perfect medium rare point and hold it at that. So
when people get this piece of equipment, not only can they make their extractions, they can also make their chicken taste better.
Yes. So
and whatever else they're cooking.
It's a very useful tool cooking wise, and you will impress your dinner guests with it. But it is a mandatory tool if you want to cook with cannabis, because you need full control of the time, temperature, and environment you make your extraction in. Right. So by putting it into the oven, you don't have that control. By using the sous vide, we do. Now, the second sort of myth we want to break, pushing it to 240 Fahrenheit. I keep a sort of cap at 200 Fahrenheit is where I'll go to max. Now, if I have a very low grade of cannabis flower, something bottom of the bag trim, maybe someone had to grow and they've got all this stuff that's left over, I'm not going to get any terpenes out of that, right? All that is good for is THC. So then I will want to push the heat, as far as I can without pulling that bitter chlorophyll taste off.
Because you're not worried about losing terpenes because there's not that much.
Because they're not there.
Okay.
Right. So the grade of cannabis flower, we have 4 grades for cannabis. You have A, AA, AAA, Quad A. You won't find Quad A on the legal market. You're going to find those OG growers from California and Oregon and that's where you're going to find real top end Quad A, but we can find AAA buds through your cannabis dispensaries. Those are usually your premium brands that maybe cost a little bit more, but again, they cost a bit more because they're more terpene rich, right? So if the goal is, hey, I have a very low grade of flower, so I want to maximize the THC on it, then the decarb method is the way we want to go. 70% of the time, I use a different method called the Cedeno method, which is focused on more of a full spectrum extraction. So decarb method, we chop our flour up. Old way, we put it in the oven, we pull it out, then we add it with our butter and we put it on a crock pot or a double broiler on the oven for a couple hours. So again, we're not using the crock pot, the double broiler, the oven, because we've got our sous vide. So we would chop our flour up, vacuum seal it, put it in the sous vide bath for 40 minutes at 200 Fahrenheit. We've activated the THC in it. We pull it out. We add that flour into our butter. We vacuum seal the butter and flour.
When you say butter, just regular
butter, right? Let's just use that as an example. So we take our butter and our flour, we vacuum seal it in a bag. I would then set my sous vide timer to 100 or temperature to 175 Fahrenheit. And I would add my butter in there for 3 hours, right? Then pull it out and we would strain it. We would put that butter in the fridge. It would harden up and we now have our infused butter.
Right.
Now that method there was to maximize the THC potency because we had a low grade of flower. Now we have this beautiful AAA bud from Alien Labs that's very terpene rich. So I want to create a full spectrum extraction with that. I'm going to add my flour directly to my butter and then put it in the sous vide bath. So I skipped that first step, right? Now you're thinking, well, wait a minute. We only have THCA in the flour, but we're still adding it to the butter into the temperatured water bath. So it's more of a passive decarb. That decarb process is happening within the butter, not ahead of it before adding it in. And what happens is we create a less potent extraction. So it could be anywhere from 20 to 40% less potent than if we took the decarb method, but it's going to be more terpene rich. If you were to make butter in both methods and you were to harden them, you'll notice your decarb butter is green and your Cedeno method butter is more of that natural yellowy white color, right? Because we haven't applied too much temperature. We haven't started to pull the chlorophyll off the plant. So, and because we've kept under that 200 Fahrenheit sort of level, we've been able to capture more terpenes and other cannabinoids. So yes, it is less potent, but it is more palatable. It's more aromatic, right?
More flavorful.
More flavorful, right?
And more therapeutic.
More therapeutic. Now I have to use twice as amount as cannabis flower to get to the potency as the other method, but that's just the steps that I have to take if I'm going that full spectrum method.
Interested in changing your life or stepping on stage? Join FitBody Fusion today.
Experience the FitBody Fusion difference with tools, knowledge, and community support to reach your healthy and sustainable lifestyle.
We guide thousands on their fitness journeys, from seasoned athletes to those who are simply seeking a healthier life.
Our expert coaches provide personalized plans and unwavering support, empowering you to thrive.
FitBody Fusion is more than just training. It's a community. We understand the challenges of solo fitness journeys, which is why we foster a supportive environment where members encourage and motivate each other.
Join the FitBody Fusion community today and unlock your full potential.
Head to fitbodyfusion.com to sign up for a free consultation.
And do it today.
And when you're talking potency in this particular, you're talking specifically THC, because the first method is more potent in THC, but the second method is actually more potent in the
terpenes.
The terpenes.
Correct. It's more, the potency is more, it's more full spectrum extraction. Right now, we also, there are instances where we cook for people, medical patients who just don't like the taste of cannabis. So we can actually create extractions and completely remove the flavoring from it. Also, if we're working with bottom of the bag trim from a grow, there's not, again, because there's no terpenes in it, it's not very flavorful to begin with. So let's just remove all that together and just pull the THC off of it. So we call that the wash method, right? Where we really wash our cannabis for a couple days before we start making our extractions. We can also infuse.
When you say a couple days, you're not putting in the sous vide for a couple days.
No, so
okay.
you would use an ice water bath. So I would chop my flour up and put it in a deli container full of ice cubes and water, and I leave that in my fridge for 12 hours. I would pull that out, put it through a strainer, get rid of all that melted water and ice. You're going to notice it's a dark brown color, right? You pour all that out. You do that step 3 more times. Flour back in, ice cubes, water, strain it. Every time you go to strain, you'll notice the color of the water is getting more clear, right? You get to a point, then once you've done your 4 sort of wash stages, you go into the decarb method. You decarb the flour, you add it into the butter. Through those steps, you've now removed the trichomes, you've removed whatever terpenes were there. There wasn't a lot to begin with. I would never wash a AAA or quad A. Right? It's like,
It sounds like the washing is for a very specific purpose.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. It's like taking a Wagyu steak and cooking it well done. Right? Let's just don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And then, we can also create salts, sugars, and spices. Right? So again, when we're looking at creating that entourage effect, we can actually infuse terpenes into a Malden salt. So let's say I have a cannabis-derived terpene of caryophyllene. That's the terpene we find in peppercorns. It has high anti-inflammatory properties. So what I do is I actually infuse alcohol, Everclear, which has got a very high alcohol percentage. We just chop our cannabis flower up. We're going to decarb it, and then we're going to add it into that alcohol. And we leave it there for 7 to 10 days. Every day you want to give it a really vigorous shake. 10 days, we pull it out, we strain it. We have now transferred our cannabinoids into the alcohol. So we have an infused alcohol that, you can make cocktails with it, but be careful.
Yeah.
Be very careful going that route. What I would actually use that alcohol then is I would take a dehydrator, I would pour a box of Malden salt on it, and then I would pour that alcohol on top of the salt, put it into the dehydrator, dehydrate away all the alcohol, and the cannabinoids then go into that salt.
Oh, interesting.
We can also do that with terpenes. We can add terpenes into our alcohol. We don't have to wait 7 to 10 days because we would eye drop in, right? Shake it up, add that alcohol then to the ice, or to the salt, dehydrate it away. And that terpene of caryophyllene has now gone into the salt. So let's just say I have like a tuna tataki, this beautiful bluefin tuna that I can add a little bit of Malden salt with the caryophyllene on it. And let's say I have an infused CBD olive oil. right? Drizzle that on top. We've created a potential entourage effect right there by having terpenes come in through the salt and our cannabinoid in through the oil. So it doesn't always have to be in the same extraction, right? We can look at different ways of kind of incorporating in. Now, the thing to remember is with salts, sugars, and spices, yes, I can infuse a Cajun spice, but if I put that Cajun spice on the chicken breast and then throw it on the barbecue, I burn away all that hard work, right? So what you would do is use a non-infused Cajun spice, put it on the chicken breast, barbecue it, take it off, let it rest, then add your cannabis Cajun spice on top as a finisher, right? So the dehydration method, it's a lot. It creates the most fragile form. So you really have to think, how am I incorporating this?
How am I going to apply it?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about the sous vide.
Yeah.
We talked about I think that's pretty much what you talked about as the primary method.
And the dehydrator.
Primary tool,
Dehydrator,
right?
right.
I mean, if you want to do the dehydration method, the evaporation method, you're going to need a dehydrator. Getting a vacuum sealer is going to be an important thing. Like, yes, you can use mason jars, but again, if you're working with butter or you want to decarb the flour, you need to vacuum seal. Using a Ziploc bag and trying to suck all the air out of it and put it in there, it's just not going to work. So that is an essential tool that you should want to have. And then something that is vital important is label everything. Right. I talked about in the other episode, the first time I grained out was because I grabbed a bottle of olive oil that had no label on it. If it had a label on it, I would have known. I would have added the appropriate amount. I still would have used it because I would have been like, oh, cool, cannabis olive oil.
Right.
But,
you just wouldn't have used as much.
And when you write, this is another important thing. You make your extraction, you need to write what your milligram per milliliter dosage is. So within my cookbook and my course, we give you the math equations to be able to figure that out. But you don't just want to write 700 milligrams on the olive oil bottle, because as you use it, is there still 700 milligrams in there? Like, what's the math equation? So, math.
Well, I was also just thinking about the alcohol that you were talking about of infusing it in the Everclear.
Yeah.
Is that if you're going to leave it in for 7 to 10 days, it'd be really important to write the start date on there, to note it somewhere on your calendar so that you're keeping track of this. Yeah.
Yeah, because even if let's say you don't have a dehydrator, what the old way of doing it was taking some cheesecloth, you have a baking pan, you put your salt, your alcohol in there, and then cheesecloth, you tape it over top so you have the airflow. That would take 2 weeks to evaporate away, right? But if you make any mistakes, you're wasting a lot of time. So, I always say, if you want to just kind of try this out and get started to make sure it's something you want to do, you don't have to go and buy the top of the line, tool and a piece of equipment out there. Start with the nano sous vide that costs $90 on Amazon and, start to see its purposes. And I think once you start using a sous vide to cook with as well,
you may find you want to use it for a lot of other things.
Mine's connected to my cell phone. So I could right now have 4 tenderloin steaks vacuum sealed sitting in that water bath. And I could say, turn it on right now, so that in 90 minutes when I get home, I have 4 perfectly cooked medium rare tenderloin steaks that all I got to do is sear on each side. Boom, dinner's ready to go. So
I think we need to get one of those.
Well, I wanted to get one about 4 years ago, and you said no, which I understand why, because I do tend to be anyway the retail therapy. But the sous vide, the thing that's really exciting about it is just the what you say 360, but I just think of it in any oven or any heating mechanism that you have. There's always going to be some variability in terms of how it's applied to the food. But in sous vide cooking, it's just because it surrounds every aspect of the item that you're cooking. We've had some meals cooked beyond yours that were prepared sous vide wise, and it's a different experience altogether. I really like it. The technology first came out with sous vides, those things were $10,000. Yeah, the high 3 Michelin starred kitchens were having them.
Wow.
Now you can get a nano for $100. So this is where I get excited when I look at the cost of cannabis derived terpenes. They're not affordable for the everyday person. Chefs, we pay stupid prices for the original ingredients, so I get the true essence of my story, right? We'll pay that $500 for that terpene. But as technology advances, those terpenes prices are going to come down. They're going to find a way to be able to pull those out and not have to use up so much plant matter, which is more valuable, sold through recreational uses. So.
Okay, so we have sous vide, we have the
Vacuum sealer.
we have the dehydrator,
and then labels, like whether
Labels.
you're using tapes or whatever, label everything you do. Our previous word was forgetful, because you're going to forget what was in there. Again, don't take shortcuts when it comes to this. Shortcuts will lead to mistakes. Mistakes lead to some unhappy people and some.
And you said this. You said this very rather pointedly. I don't remember which conversation we were having, but every bad experience you've had has been because it was a shortcut.
Yeah. I mean, me personally. I mean, even when I first started doing this, we had mistakes that happened in that, and I can always go back and I know where the mistake happened. I will know. And now that I have people that I'm training, chefs that I'm training, it's even more important, because you always, when you do something for so long, you know where you can take shortcuts and get away with stuff.
When you're new, you got to follow the system.
But even when you've been doing this as long as I have, if I take those shortcuts, that's where chances for mistakes can happen, and mistakes can lead to big problems, especially when this is still in a gray space. If anything happens to any of the guests after they leave, I'm liable. Right. So again, safety is number one priority here. And to really cook safely, you need the right equipment. So start with that sous vide, get yourself a vacuum sealer. You're going to look like a 5-star chef with the food you cook for your people, but you're also going to look like
start by cooking for yourself, I would say, before you start cooking for other people. And don't like, I would say this is get the cookbook, start there, get the items that Chef Travis mentioned. But before you start, hey, I'm having a cannabis dinner for y'all. This is my first time doing it, and come on over. Maybe start with your own self first, just to make sure.
Well, or get the right person, get the right friend to come over to try. Like, hey, did I dose this correctly? Right? Like, it's. I have specific people I will have come and try things, because me and my wife have a high tolerance. So if I want to know if something was on the lower scale, that's not. I invite you. Yeah. Come on over. Yes.
Well, awesome. This was really informative. And actually, I'm super excited. I might actually let Greg buy a sous vide now.
Holy cow. Well, we got that on tape now. So,
and I will come and sit down, and you guys can cook
for you.
For me. There
nice. We go. You'd probably be scared. Oh God, here we go. Not about the weed as much as the food.
No, that's the biggest misconception out there. People get intimidated to cook for chefs. Listen, I would never judge anyone's cooking. I am so happy that I am not cooking. I love when other people cook.
All right. Well, we will be inviting you over for dinner.
If our son is cooking for you, it's going to be hot dogs with mac and cheese on top and bacon, right? And I think isn't that what he made? That one. Anyway,
I'm going to put that on my 420 menu. It sounds pretty good.
It was good, actually.
Chef, tell everybody how to get a hold of you.
Yeah. So the nomadcook.com is my website. Follow me on Instagram for all up to date, fresh announcements on what cities we're at. _Nomad Cook. And we'll be in a city near you soon. So
awesome.
You told us a story before we started about being on another podcast where they had 5 joints, right?
Yes, with Cypress Hill.
Yes. So how does this experience compare to that? Do I even want to know?
You remember more of it?
I honed back to my word from the last episode of Forgetful, because if you actually watch the podcast, and again, I'm a chronic, I have a very high tolerance, but I had a hard time keeping up with those guys. I think I dropped those doobies a couple times on the floor. It kept going out. I didn't have a lighter. I'm like looking around though. Someone have a lighter? So I'm wanting to go back with them and because I always said if I got on Joe Rogan that I wanted to do what Snoop Dogg did, and he had like 10 blunts, I think, from start to end.
Wow. Okay, so this is a more aware podcast.
Hey, listen, we were here talking about responsibility.
Yes.
Right? And how to integrate this into your athletic training programs.
That's right.
Right? So it's not about getting blitzed. There's a time and a place for that. Once you win that gold medal and that you place first, then it's time for
Then you can enjoy.
And blitzed or not, just remember to like, comment, subscribe, leave your review. If you're in a green out, that'll be an interesting review. But anyway, please help us. Please help us promote the channel and build our following. We really appreciate all of your support. And remember the 3 B's.
Be good to yourself.
Be good to each other, and be safe. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to FitBody Lifestyle. We hope today's episode has left you feeling motivated and equipped to tackle your fitness goals, business challenges, and the daily dance of life. Remember to value progress over perfection. Life's tough enough alone. Find the chosen family around you to help you along the way.
If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite streaming platform. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at FitBody Fusion.